You didn't learn anything differently about Kamala Harris, what she wants to do, or her campaign if you watch the CNN town hall. And that's because, one, she's not bright enough to explain what she believes. And two, even if she were, she couldn't explain what she believes because she is, in fact, a Marxist, and most voters would be turned off to that. But her campaign, listen, I want to encourage everybody to show up to the polls and take someone to the polls. But just like I was saying earlier on Dennis Prager's program, there's nothing that Kamala Harris herself can do in order to redeem her campaign, in order to revive her campaign. It is not in her. She is completely incapable. She should not have been given or gifted this position. I know some people say, well, she worked hard to get the delegates. Listen, Joe Biden decided that he wanted to endorse Kamala Harris to take his spot despite the coup as a big middle finger to Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. And I got to tell you, so far, it's working good. I mean, there are even headlines. The Hill had a headline. The Hill had a headline earlier, and I forget the title already. But basically, almost regretting the fact that Joe Biden is no longer in the race because Kamala Harris has been such a disaster. And now what I was saying earlier is I believe that yesterday Kamala Harris, when she gave this presser, if you will, calling Trump a Hitler. And by the way, I never, ever thought I would have donated to Hitler, but I did. But anyway, so she called Trump Hitler. Listen, to me, in my opinion, that was a concession speech. You don't go all out Nazi at the end of your campaign if you really have something to offer voters. Now, I'm sure people behind the scenes, her team, have spoken to her. We got to push through this. We got to keep fighting this. But there's no doubt in my mind that her internal polls are not looking good. We'll go over some of the Real Clear Politic averages during the program. We'll talk about some of the polling. But I think she is an absolutely horrendous candidate, and I think all of these people are starting to realize it. Actually, I think they knew it because they were talking about it. She was the worst vice president, even they believed, in American history. And then all of a sudden she gets the nominee, so they got to they got to go ahead and kiss that booty, but it isn't paying off. Let's roll video clip number 8. This is a montage of the CNN analysts critiquing the one and only Kamala Harris.
When she doesn't want to answer a question, her habit is to kind of go to word salad city, and she did that on a couple of answers. One was on Israel. Anderson asked a direct question, would you be stronger on Israel than Trump? And there was a 7-minute answer, but none of it related to the question he was asking.
She doesn't have to be flawless, but she has to give you something. I mean, she's like a true double threat. You know, she's terrible on her feet when she gets unexpected questions, and simultaneously, she can't even answer the expected questions. It's nothing, nothing, nothing. You'd think she'd be prepared to do this by now. You know, what's a mistake you've made? Nothing. What's a weakness you have? Nothing. What's the first law you want to pass? Nothing. What's a policy difference between you and Joe Biden? Nothing. Over and over and over. Empty, empty, empty.
Look
If she were
at
an animal,
David
she'd be a duck-billed platitude.
But look,
It's a total world
focused a lot more on Donald Trump, I think it's fair to say, than she did on many specifics in terms of what she would do as president. But she did go into some of her plans for small businesses.
Well, I'll just tell you what I'm hearing from people who I have been talking to, and that is that if her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that. And, you know, some people have asked, is she being held to a different standard? Maybe, but that's maybe the world that she's living in. And on the question of who she is, people are understanding that a little bit more. But what she will do, the question about her legislative priorities, name one, there wasn't one.
I think that the word salad stuff gets on my nerves. I think that some of the evasions are not necessary. But when she's talking about trying to get you a house, I believe her.
Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris participated in a one-person debate last night, and she lost. Okay, she was asked direct questions, and she provided very circular answers. My colleagues Van Jones and David Axelrod and others noted that, you know, she provided word salad answers. And, you know, Anderson would ask her specifically direct questions, and she didn't provide an answer to them. Anderson asked the best question all night. Why didn't you do this 4 years ago? Why haven't you been doing this? 10-minute answer, didn't answer the question. So what she did last night, I don't think helped her cause at all. I think people were looking for, how are you going to, you heard the one woman, how are you going to make my life better? That wasn't provided. Donald Trump bad is not going to get you to the White House. I hate to break it to her.
Now, maybe they're being a little rough. Oh, okay. So maybe they're being a little rough on Kamala Harris. I want to go to video clip number 1. Let's see if their critiques are justified. Clip number 1, por favor, Mr. McConnell.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll see if any more donations are rolling in for the Kamala Harris campaign.